the bleeding seemed to arrest by itself. If the cuts are a little deeper, then we have given them a churnam, nothing much, laksha churnam or something like that, and that if you dust that place with that, it seemed to arrest it. So this is again, this Vatajarakta Dushti is a case that it can very well be handled and taken care by providing them with Ayurvedic medicine. And one sad news was yesterday, I got a call from the same parents saying that the mother delivered a second child and the child is 5 months old, and they have discovered that even that child has the same problem. So that was, anyway, he is going to bring the child to us, and I'm quite confident the child will also be looked after by Ayurveda. And this is another case which I thought I will present it to you. Now this is a case, as usual it comes pre-diagnosed as ectodermal dysplasia. Now the parents come and ask, doctor, do you have a treatment for ectodermal dysplasia? I said, no, we don't have a treatment for ectodermal dysplasia. You tell us what it is and we will see what we can do. Then they describe it to us that their child is 4 years old and he has only some 4 teeth or something, that there is a total absence of teeth, and they have taken some x-rays and everything to show that there is no teeth bud or whatever. So can Ayurveda do something about it? Now nowhere in the Ayurvedic text it says this is the treatment and these are the medicine for growing teeth. No, it doesn't say. But Ayurveda definitely has a theory. Now you have to search and see what does a theory say. Now what are teeth? Teeth are actually classified as bone tissue in Ayurveda. Now if bone tissue is the one which is absent, what does it say in Ayurveda? And Ayurveda gives you a line of treatment for vriddhi and shaya of bone tissue. Asti chayam and asti vriddhi. Now this is certainly, shaya means lack of bone and vriddhi means excess. Now definitely there is a line of treatment given for lack of bone tissue. So we thought, we explained it to the parents. According to us, this is a lack of bone tissue, and for lack of bone tissue, this is the line of treatment. But we have not done this treatment before. Yours is the first case. If you want, you can go through with it. And they said, all right. Now, the child had also other complaints like scanty brown hair, no sweating, skin lesions which are itching, raised body temperature, and a respiratory condition which was hereditary. Now the treatment, as per the text, we followed very systematically, and he was given medicated ghee and then soup with tender bones and special medicated enema. All this got over. Now the most crucial question is, the parents ask us, when will the teeth come? Now we have never had any previous experience, and it was a very difficult question to answer. But to be on the safe side, I said, okay, we will wait for 6 months. And to our own surprise, that 2 teeth after 10 days or 2 weeks it appeared, 1 more tooth after a couple of months, and 1 more after a few months. They got transferred to Pune, and they were keen on, we had advised them the next 3 years you do it every year. But 2 years later they came and repeated the treatment, and 2 more teeth got erupted. And since they don't stay in Madras, but they still say that they would like to continue this treatment. So this is how we would approach any new disease, that all diseases are numerous. Every day there are more and more. I remember when Sri Vishwanath Sharma took class for us, that is the sloka he used to emphasize. The newer and newer diseases will go on coming, that you may not be able to name all of them, but try to identify the disease causing factors, the seat of disease, the dhatu, that is the tissue or whatever which is affected. These are, if you identify them, any new disease can be treated. Now this is a case of a small child. He was 6 years maybe, and he was treated at a Child Trust hospital, and he had a very severe pain below the umbilical region, and the pain is so severe that the parents would never stay inside the room. They would run out of the room the minute the child starts having their episode of pain, and you could actually see a ball which moves from the scrotal to the lower abdominal area. And so many tests were done, every test, abdominal scan, chest x-ray, DMSA scan, endoscopy, ECG, duodenal mucosa, biopsy, blood, urine, liver, Mantoux, vital. All possible tests were done on the child, and he was admitted and kept for several weeks. He was in the hospital, and a senior pediatrician was attending to this child. 10 days of hospitalization at the allopathic hospital was on antibiotics, painkillers, steroid. Now the minute they would remove the child from these 3 drugs, he would again have the same episode. Finally the doctors said, we do not know what we are treating. Some of them said maybe take psychiatric help, but then they could see there was no psychiatry involved in this. It's an actual pain that the child was going, it was happening to him. And Gulmam, I find, is a disease that I have not found anywhere any proper name being given in Western medicine, but they call it unknown pain and so on. Now it is a major disease in Ayurveda. There are some diseases which are called Mahavyadhi, and Gulmam is one of the Mahavyadhis. And he was admitted for 21 days at Sanjeevani Vaidyashala, and we have a very devoted team of doctors who attended on him 24 hours, because suddenly that pain would start coming in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock in the night, 2 o'clock in the night. We had to be present and we had to take care of the child and treat the child. And multiple episodes of this pain would happen in the same day. And with diet, medication, and especially Vasti. Vasti is a medicated enema, and we used a number of Vastis on this child. And now the child is very well, and 3 years have gone by, and the child has grown quite bigger, and he has never had that problem after that. Now this is something I wanted to bring to your notice, because wound healing is a major task. I mean, we have huge chapters on wound healing, and we often have patients coming to us with wounds. Even a simple caesarean surgical wound doesn't heal. It pusses up, it's bleeding, it's pussing, and some of these wounds, and not treated properly, they become what is called dushtavrana, and it is even more difficult. Some of them develop sinuses, so it requires some surgical skills also. So the best way to treat a wound is to treat it properly right at the beginning. So now this Dr. Karthikeyan is the director and senior veterinary officer in Madras Race Club. He came to us and he said, Doctor, can you give me an effective medicine for wound healing, because we have very costly horses, each of them costing 30-40 lakhs. We can't afford to lose them, and the antibiotics are not at all effective. They go on, the pusses never stop, they are oozing with fluid. So can you give us some effective medicine which you use in wound healing? So we put together a set of Ayurveda Siddha medicines, all of them very, very simple and very cheap, and we gave it to them, and we forgot about it. 4 years later, he came back to us and he said that in this racecourse hospital, that we use not a single antibiotic anymore, we don't use even an antiseptic solution, and in 4 years we have treated 350 horses only with the medicine that you gave me, and this is the result, he said. Now the medicine that was given was Triphala Churnam, Kungilyam, Padigalinga Sinduram, Padigara Basmam. He calls it KPP powder. Now Triphala was used for cleaning the wounds. When he does castration, that is removing the testicle, he would squirt Triphala solution into the scrotal sac, bandage with this powder, and it would heal in 3 to 4 weeks. Extensively damaged, bad wounds heal in just 1 month. Earlier, with the antibiotic treatment, it used to take 3 months. Skin wounds, surgical wounds, sinus wounds, lacerations, wounds in highly vascular areas, all these were cured very effectively. So we asked him, why did you opt for this Ayurvedic drug? He said, effective in cleaning wounds, quick in healing, no scar is there, no pus or smelly fluid or oozing, easily available, and it is very cheap. And from 2004 to 2008, 350 horses. Now we are in 2013, he would have nearly treated 1,000 horses. So it is a place where anybody can go and see, and I am sure our people who do surgery would benefit a lot if only they would look into our system of medicine and see what is being used and how wounds are being healed. Now this is a picture he sent me when he did a surgery in a Sri Lankan horse and how it is healed. And he also told me that once he used it for a diabetic wound and it was very effective, and he said it was 100% success. And he a lot of his colleagues now all over India have started using these medicines. And he sent this parcel to some friends in US, and sure enough they wanted to patent it. Fortunately, that one of the medicines had what is called Lingasenduram, and Lingasenduram is a rasa drug, and that saved us, so it didn't get done. Now, anemia is an issue which I would really like to take it up in a major way by healthcare policy makers. They have ignored this aspect, and it is now, I think, it has been going on for the last 60 years in this country, and our women, they are 90%. Now, unofficial reports put it as 90% women in India are anemic, and official reports say 75% of Indian pregnant women and 56% of non-pregnant women are anemic. Now I put Tamil Nadu because Tamil Nadu is supposed to be very, very advanced. So women with anemia is 56.5%. Pregnant mothers with anemia in Tamil Nadu is still close to 70%, and national average is 75%. It's all right, thanks. And children with anemia is 74%. Now, if you look at some of the rich states like Punjab, the children under 3 years of age, anemia is something like 80%. So it has nothing to do with richness or poorness of any state. And it is something that 40% of maternal deaths are supposed to be caused by anemia and anemia related complications. And mothers are anemic, pregnant mothers are anemic, they give birth to an anemic children. So all these are, it's become such a vicious cycle, and after 60 years of national prophylactic program for anemia, we still are highly anemic. It's become a national calamity, and it is our national disease. And the sooner we look at Ayurvedic options for treating anemia, the better it is. And this is again is the last point which I would like to emphasize before I close. So if you look at Ayurveda, now I need not explain any further that why we should take Ayurveda as the first line of treatment. Now, why we have got this name that we only treat chronic diseases, because people come to us in a very, very chronic stage of the disease. So, if you actually look at Ayurveda, it is capable of treating all diseases. It is effective, it has no side effect, it has no iatrogenic problem, it is cost effective. The cost of training an Ayurvedic Vaidya is zero, literally. Only thing we need is our textbooks and good teachers and patients for us to see. So there is no cost of education and training of a doctor is nil. Cost of diagnostic equipment there is nil. No imported machinery or tools are required, and locally available medicine and materials are used to treat effectively all diseases. So this is the reason why Dr. CVK has given me this topic, that Ayurveda should be the first line of treatment for any disease. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Girija. We request Dr. C.V. Krishnaswamy to present a memento to Dr. Girija on our behalf. Thank you. We have great pleasure in requesting Mr. P. Venkateshan, Director and COO, HealthTrack Info Solutions Private Limited, to speak on the role of EMR and hospital informatics technology in assisting in affordable, cost-effective medical services, health expectancy and research.
I'm very sure I'll be able to give a small insight which is going to be very interesting for a very simple reason. This is an odd subject for all of you. You have been listening to doctors and doyens from morning. So I'm going to be making it interesting. Next slide, please. This is a very interesting issue from the British Medical Journal, because we went first to Edinburgh in 2002 for a conference organized by the British Medical Journal titled Healthcare Meets Medical Informatics and Innovation. For the first time, medical community had recognized the role of technology, that to information technology in this field. After that, 2 years later, this issue came, and which gave a lot of interest to us. All it talks about why is information important? Because Dr. Girija was talking, we are talking about PMFE, everything. What is the most important aspect is documentation, because evidence-based medicine believes in data, and data has to be submitted in a scientific way that is acceptable to the global scientific community. So information technology plays a very important role in doing proper documentation. Next slide, please. So what is the problem? The problem is very simple. Many hospitals still today, whether it is in India or world over, they still depend on, or they believe more in papers rather than computers, which is, when I am talking about it, don't take it up in a subjective way, but I really can tell you that if something in paper can be protected, I think in computers it can be protected much safer, for a very simple reason: there is nothing that is physically moving here and there. Files can get torn, papers can be lost. So the problem is basically not just in putting it in paper. It occupies a lot of space to store, and the retrieval of file is one of the major problem when patients are here. In fact, so much so in very, very big hospitals, patients with pain and trouble come and they wait for 1 hour minimum, only to make sure that their file is searched and given to the doctor to go through before they are called inside the doctor's chamber. Next slide, please. Now, what is the solution? The solution is very simple. You only need to put in a structured, integrated system that is going to link, if possible, the medical information, the management information system, hospital management information system, along with electronic medical record system, which can instantaneously retrieve information. Even when the patient comes, you don't need to ask him for a OP card, IP card, nothing. You just have to swipe their finger using a biometric system. Their case sheet is on straight. Next slide, please. This is, I'm sure like many of you must have heard of this not-for-profit organization, Kaiser Permanente in California, based in California in the US. This is I'm not going to read too much of this. This is about the Hal Wolf, the vice president of Kaiser, who was interviewed, and this was published in the McKinsey's weekly journal. So this gist of it is, by closely integrating care delivery, Kaiser Permanente delivers high quality, cost effective treatment. One of its senior executives outlines its approach. I am just going to take a little detail how they have achieved it. Kaiser Permanente, the largest not-profit health plan in the United States, is renowned for tight integration of its clinical services. So the main part is extensively uses clinical care pathways and electronic medical records. By doing so, it provides 8.7 million members and patients with high quality, cost effective. Because cost effectiveness is because when data is not available, you have to keep repeating tests, you have to keep repeating scans. If data is properly preserved and easily retrievable, you don't need to keep doing it again and again. It saves a lot of money, it takes a lot of time saving also. So in Colorado, they have put in a services which they don't have their own hospitals. They have collaborated with other hospitals, and they have put in a framework that has been followed by Kaiser Permanente, and they have been able to use the KP Health Connect, which updates in a real-time situation, which means it is a live system. It is not a parallel system, it's not a post system. They have been able to put this. The reason I am trying to quote here Kaiser Permanente is because, we in India, we actually, as everybody say, we appreciate what is coming from outside rather than what is brought from inside. Next, please. So what are the opportunities in Indian scenario? As you know that globally there is a lot of talk happening about centralized health data repositories created by statewide, nationwide in Europe, in Australia, and many programs have been done, many pilot projects have been done. So in India, for that matter, there is a tremendous growth in the medical tourism. We have many corporate and specialty chain hospitals coming up with multi-locational setup. Then health insurance is slowly gaining prominence, and this we hope, if we could enthuse the policymakers in the unique identification program, it can link up individuals' health data through the same system. As you know, ESI is one of the largest public healthcare initiative in the world. And of course, railway and defense hospitals, we have been able to enthuse interest into their pattern, and of course, we are trying to crack it to make sure that they put in such a system so that can link all the railway hospitals or the defense military hospitals across the country. Next slide, please. And I'm sure, like many of you would have read this, insurance is going to go paperless, and moreover, earlier insurance claims people, whether it is cashless or a reimbursement system, they could do it with summaries. But no longer you can do that. You need to submit information in a printable electronic format, and that is going to go paperless, which means the IRDA says that they will like to have an entry into each hospital's information system of patient's record for smoother settlement process. Next slide, please. Now, what is the current level of automation? Now, many hospitals, if you really see, they say that yes, we have computerized system. Now, what is this used for? Now, I just want you to kindly give attention to the first point. There is a lot of digitization process happens. Despite several education process and things, the trouble that we all undergo is people like to scan and store data. Now, it is far better to put it in paper rather than scan and store, because at least here you can quickly get through to wherever you want, whereas there you have to go page by page, screen by screen to get to locate where you want to go. What is computerization? There is a sheet of paper with about 4 sets of reports. Now, the entire paper gets scanned, it takes a lot of space to get stored, whereas just 4 simple data, 4 unit values has to just get into the computer. It is like 1/100th or 1,000th of the size, but it is something with which you can relate. Let us say that you want to relate to somebody's blood pressure trend over the last 1 year. In just at the click of the mouse, 1 year trend, you can have it as a tabulated reading or a graphical output, which is understood instantaneously without any loss of time. Then computerization, yes, many hospitals have done. Where do they do? I think it is limited to lab, radiology department, yes, of course, or computers still today, whether you